Let me ask you something. Imagine being told to marry someone you know will betray you. That's the absolutely shocking command at the heart of one of the Old Testament's most intense prophetic books, the Book of Hosea. And it is a gripping story of love, heartbreak, and a very, very public and painful lesson.
So yeah, the story kicks off with this just shocking instruction for the prophet Hosea. He is commanded by God to marry a woman who he knows will be unfaithful. And the immediate question has to be, why? I mean, what could possibly be the point of such a painful and public setup?
Well, that question, that why, is exactly what this book sets out to answer. You see, this bizarre command isn't just some weird side detail. No, it's the very foundation of the entire message. To get it, we first need to take a closer look at the prophet's very strange marriage.
And here it is, this is the absolute key. This isn't just a tragic love story for its own sake. The prophet's marriage to this woman, Gomer, is a deliberate, living metaphor. Hosea's own life becomes the prophetic message. He actually has to live the very heartbreak he's preaching about.
Okay, so how exactly does this living metaphor work? It's the central idea of the entire book, so let's break down the symbolism, piece by piece, and see how this very human story connects to a much bigger divine message.
The core concept that unlocks the whole thing is what the book calls spiritual adultery. Now, we're not talking about literal cheating in a marriage. We're talking about the nation of Israel being unfaithful in its relationship with God, specifically through things like worshiping other gods and committing social injustice.
And the parallels are incredibly direct. In the human story, you have Hosea, the faithful husband. In the divine metaphor, he represents God. His unfaithful wife Gomer, well, she represents the unfaithful nation of Israel. Their broken marriage is a direct picture of the broken spiritual covenant between God and Israel. And here's the crucial point. Hosea's persistent, unwavering love for Gomer, even after her betrayal, is meant to be a direct picture of God's unwavering love for Israel.
But, and this is important, unwavering love doesn't mean there are no consequences. Israel's unfaithfulness had become so deep-seated that it absolutely demanded a strong response. And this leads us to the next phase of the story, the book's difficult message of judgment.
So what exactly did Israel do? Well, the book gives us a pretty clear list. We see widespread idolatry, the worship of other gods. There was social oppression and injustice, meaning the poor and vulnerable were being mistreated. And the nation was relying on political alliances with other countries for its security instead of actually trusting in God.
And to really drive the point home, Hosea gives a brief history lesson. He argues that this wasn't just some recent slip-up. Instead, it was a continuous pattern of unfaithfulness that had been going on from the very beginning of their relationship with God. Now, if the story ended with judgment, it would be an incredibly bleak message, but it doesn't. Just when things seem darkest, the book makes this dramatic turn, shifting from consequences to the powerful hope for restoration.
And this is what reframes the entire narrative. The judgment isn't portrayed as cold, distant anger. Instead, Hosea paints this picture of God as a loving parent who is heartbroken by Israel's rebellion. The pain is personal, you know? It's like a parent watching their child make destructive choices. And it's this very heartbreak that fuels the desire for reconciliation.
In fact, the whole book is structured around these cycles. It follows a clear pattern. First, there is sin and unfaithfulness. That leads, necessarily, to judgment and consequences. But that's not the end. It's always followed by God's persistent love, which keeps the door open for that final step, the hope for restoration.
All right, so let's put it all together. After this emotional roller coaster of betrayal and judgment and persistent love, what's the ultimate message here? What does this story finally reveal about the nature of God and what He truly desires from people?
And here, the focus gets really sharp. It's all about a key contrast. On one hand, the book shows God rejecting all the outward rituals and empty sacrifices, religious acts done just for show. On the other hand, what God truly desires is steadfast love, justice, mercy, and a genuine personal knowledge of Him.
So, the crucial point is this. After all is said and done, the book of Hosea argues that the character of your heart, your love, your mercy, your faithfulness, is far, far more important than just going through the motions of external religious acts.
And that leads us with the central question of the book. Is this ultimately a story of judgment, or is it a story of a relentless love that just refuses to give up, even in the face of profound betrayal? The Book of Hosea asks us to decide. Thanks for joining this explainer.